Have you ever wondered why the things you fear most seem to follow you everywhere? Maybe it's the fear of failing, the fear of being judged, or the fear of stepping outside your comfort zone. For years, I believed that fear was my enemy, something to avoid at all costs. I thought that if I could just outrun it, ignore it, or hide from it, I'd finally be free to chase my dreams. But what if I told you that your biggest fear isn't a wall blocking your path, it's actually the doorway to everything you want? This is the story of how I learned that the very thing I was running from was the key to my greatest growth. It started with a simple challenge. I was invited to speak in front of a small group, nothing huge, just a handful of people. But the thought of standing up and sharing my ideas made my heart race and my hands sweat. I almost said no. For most of my life, I'd avoided situations like this. I told myself I wasn't a public speaker, that I was better off behind the scenes. But deep down, I knew I was tired of letting fear make my decisions. So I said yes. The night before, I barely slept. My mind replayed every possible mistake, every awkward silence, every judgmental glance. But when the moment came, I stood up, my voice shaking, and spoke anyway. I stumbled over my words, but I finished. And when I sat down, something inside me shifted. I realized that the fear hadn't destroyed me. In fact, facing it made me feel more alive than I had in years. That moment was a turning point. I started to see fear differently. Instead of treating it as a stop sign, I began to see it as a signal, an invitation to grow. I realized that every person I admired, every story of success I'd ever heard, had one thing in common. At some point, they all faced something that terrified them. The difference wasn't that they were fearless. It was that they acted in spite of their fear. I started to wonder, what if the things I was most afraid of were actually pointing me toward the places I needed to go? I decided to test this idea. I made a list of the things that scared me most. Having difficult conversations, trying something new, risking rejection. Instead of avoiding them, I challenged myself to do one thing each week that made me uncomfortable. The first few times were rough. My heart pounded, my voice shook, and my mind screamed at me to run. But each time I faced a fear, I felt a little stronger. I started to notice something incredible. The more I leaned into my fears, the less power they had over me. What once felt impossible became manageable. What once seemed terrifying became just another step on the path. Along the way, I learned something else. Fear is a sign that you care. It means you're standing at the edge of something meaningful. If you didn't care about the outcome, you wouldn't feel afraid. That realization changed everything. Instead of seeing fear as a weakness, I started to see it as a compass. When I felt afraid, I asked myself, what's on the other side of this fear? What could I gain if I moved through it? Most of the time, the answer was growth, confidence, and a new level of success. Of course, not every fear is worth chasing. Some fears keep us safe. But most of the fears that hold us back are just stories we tell ourselves. Stories about not being good enough, not being ready, or not being worthy. When you challenge those stories, you start to see them for what they are: illusions. The real danger isn't in facing your fears. The real danger is letting them decide the limits of your life. I'm not saying it's easy. There were times I wanted to quit, times I doubted myself, times I failed. But every time I faced a fear, I learned something valuable. I learned that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the willingness to act even when you're scared. I learned that growth lives on the other side of discomfort. And I learned that the only way to build real confidence is to do the things you think you can to do. If you're listening to this and thinking, that sounds great, but I'm just not brave enough, I want you to know that you don't have to be fearless to change your life. You just have to be willing to take one small step. Start with something that scares you, but doesn't overwhelm you. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting, reaching out to someone you admire, or trying a new skill. Whatever it is, take that step. Notice how you feel afterward. Celebrate the fact that you did something hard. Then, do it again. Over time, those small acts of courage will add up. You'll start to see yourself differently. You'll realize that you're capable of more than you ever imagined. Your biggest fear isn't there to stop you. It's there to show you where you have room to grow. It's a signpost pointing you toward your next breakthrough. The people who achieve the most in life aren't the ones who never feel afraid. They're the ones who feel the fear and move forward anyway. They use fear as fuel, not as a cage. So the next time you feel fear rising up, don't run from it. Don't let it decide your future. Instead, get curious. Ask yourself what's on the other side. Take a breath, take a step, and see what happens. You might just discover that your biggest fear is the key to your greatest success. And when you look back, you'll realize that the life you wanted was waiting for you, just beyond the edge of your comfort zone.